The silver ship broke through the clouds like a needle-piercing fabric, its smooth surface reflecting the morning sun. Inside, the alien research team struggled with their instruments. Earth's magnetic field was stronger than anything they had encountered before, and it made their usual scanning equipment behave strangely. Blue, the lead researcher, stared at the readings with all four of his eyes. His protective suit felt uncomfortably tight as the ship's artificial gravity adjusted to match Earth's pull. The numbers couldn't be right. According to their instruments, this planet had nearly 1.5 times the gravity of any civilized world. No advanced life could possibly evolve in such crushing conditions. Researcher Blue called out Red, the ship's pilot. "The landing site ahead matches our criteria." But Red's voice trailed off as he adjusted his support harness. "But what?" Blue moved closer to the view screen, his legs already tired from the increased gravity. "The atmospheric pressure readings are off the scale. And the temperature, it's fluctuating wildly. How can anything survive here?" The research vessel, designed for exploration of what the observers considered normal worlds, creaked under Earth's conditions. They had chosen this landing site in a region the natives called Montana because it appeared relatively unpopulated. The less contact with the locals, the better. As they descended, the team watched in horror as their external cameras showed something impossible. Tiny flying creatures darting through the air, as if the crushing gravity meant nothing to them. Birds, their database supplied. The natives kept extensive records about their world's wildlife, freely broadcasting them into space. The landing wasn't smooth. Even with their advanced technology, the ship's compensators struggled with Earth's gravity. Blue felt his stomach lurch as they touched down in a clearing surrounded by towering green life forms. Trees, the database helpfully provided. The entire planet was infested with them. "Environmental suits sealed and checked," announced Green, the safety officer. "Remember, no direct contact with the atmosphere. Our probes detected billions of microscopic life forms floating in it. The natives call it pollen and seem to breathe it without concern." One by one, the research team activated their protective fields. The suits, designed to withstand the harshest known environments, would be their only protection against this DeathWorld's conditions. Blue led the way down the landing ramp, each step requiring more effort than he was used to. The first thing that struck him was the noise. Even through the suit's filters, the planet was impossibly loud. Wind moved through the trees, creating a constant rustling sound. Small creatures called insects buzzed through the air, their wings beating against the crushing gravity, as if it was nothing. "Look at this," called Yellow, the biologist. She pointed her scanner at a small, crawling creature with a hard shell. According to the database, the natives call it a beetle. It's carrying several times its own body weight in this gravity. Blue felt a growing sense of unease. Everything they had seen so far defied their understanding of what was possible. The database had told them that Earth was inhabited by a spacefaring species, but how could anything evolve intelligence in these conditions? A sudden gust of wind made them all stumble. Their suits' stability fields worked overtime to keep them upright. Red pointed at a dark mass of clouds approaching from the distance. "Weather warning," he announced, checking his atmospheric scanner. "The local water cycle appears to be entering an active phase." "Impossible," Blue muttered, but the evidence was right there. Massive amounts of water were about to fall from the sky, accompanied by electrical discharges. According to their research, the natives called this common phenomenon a thunderstorm, and barely seemed to notice when it happened. Just then, their early warning system pinged. 2 native life forms were approaching the landing site. The team huddled closer together, their suits' force fields humming with power. They were about to have their first direct contact with the creatures that called this impossible world home. "Remember," Blue said, trying to keep his voice steady. "According to the transmissions we intercepted, they call themselves humans. They survive here without any protective equipment. Do not show fear, no matter what you see. We are representatives of the Observer Scientific Council." But as the native figures emerged from between the trees, walking casually in Earth's crushing gravity as if it was nothing, Blue couldn't help but wonder if they had made a terrible mistake in coming here. Tom lowered his binoculars and scratched his beard. After 15 years as a park ranger, he thought he'd seen everything. But a silver spacecraft sitting in his forest was definitely a first. Next to him, Kate pulled out her phone, then thought better of it and put it back in her pocket. "Should we call someone?" she asked, keeping her voice low. She had only come up to check the weather station's readings, not to make first contact with aliens. Who would believe us? Tom shrugged and started walking toward the clearing. Besides, they look like they're having trouble. Through the trees, they could see the aliens struggling to move in their glowing suits. Each step seemed to take great effort, as if they were walking through deep mud instead of ordinary grass. "Hello there," Tom called out, raising his hand in a friendly wave. "Welcome to Earth." The alien group huddled closer together. Their suits glowed brighter, making a low humming sound. One of them, slightly taller than the others, stepped forward with visible effort. "Greetings, Earth natives." The alien's voice came through some kind of translator, sounding metallic but clear. "I am Researcher Blue of the Observer Scientific Council. We come in peace." Kate tried not to smile at how much it sounded like every sci-fi movie she'd ever watched. "I'm Kate, local meteorologist. This is Tom, he's a park ranger. Are you folks okay? You seem to be having some trouble moving around." The aliens looked at each other, their suits glow pulsing in different colors. The leader, Blue, turned back to them. "Your world's gravitational pull is extreme. We are adjusting." Tom nodded sympathetically, though he was fighting back a grin. "Would you like to sit down? We have a ranger station just over that hill. Might be more comfortable than standing out here." The aliens had another quick discussion among themselves. Their body language was hard to read through the suits, but they seemed nervous. "You expose yourself directly to this atmosphere?" Blue asked, genuine concern in his mechanical voice. "Our scanners detect numerous hazardous particles and organisms floating in it." "Oh, you mean pollen." Kate looked up at the spring trees shedding their yellow dust. "It's just plant reproduction. Makes some people sneeze, but it's harmless." The alien suits pulsed with rapid colors at this. "You breathe reproductive material of other life forms." "Willingly." "Well, when you put it that way, it does sound a bit weird," Tom chuckled. He took a few steps toward them, but stopped when they all moved backward. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. Would you like some water?" "You suggest we consume dihydrogen monoxide." Blue's translator managed to convey horror. "The corrosive compound that falls from your sky." Kate bit her lip to keep from laughing. "It's perfectly safe. We're made of it, mostly." The alien suits began pulsing rapidly with different colors. They huddled together again, having what seemed to be an intense discussion. Finally, Blue turned back to them. "Our research indicates your species has achieved spaceflight, yet you live in these conditions without protection. How is this possible?" "These conditions." Tom looked around at the pleasant spring day. "It's actually really nice out today. Sunny. About 70 degrees. Light breeze. Perfect hiking weather. You consider this moderate." Another alien stepped forward, its suit glowing red. "The temperature variations alone should be lethal." And the atmospheric pressure. A loud crack of thunder interrupted them. The aliens nearly fell over despite their suits' stabilizers. Kate looked up at the approaching storm clouds and frowned. "We should probably get inside," she said. "Looks like a storm's rolling in earlier than predicted." "Inside? You have protective shelters?" Blue asked hopefully. "Well, the ranger station keeps the rain off," Tom said. "Though we might have to close the windows if the wind picks up." "Just the rain." The aliens looked at each other again. No radiation shielding. No pressure stabilization. "It's a cabin," Tom said simply. "Come on, I'll make some coffee. That's a drink we make from beans we grow. Well, not me personally. but humans in general. You cultivate and consume plant material. Blue asked as they began their slow walk toward the station, voluntarily. Tom and Kate exchanged amused glances as they led their struggling visitors up the hill. This was going to be an interesting day. Inside the ranger station, Yellow the alien biologist was having what could only be described as a scientific meltdown. The handheld scanner kept beeping frantically as it detected one terrifying Earth organism after another. There are over 10 million microscopic life forms in this structure alone. Yellow's translator conveyed both awe and horror. How are you still alive? Kate sipped her coffee while watching the aliens huddle in the corner furthest from Tom's potted plants. Most of those are probably good bacteria. They help us digest food. You let other organisms live inside you, deliberately. Blue's suit flashed patterns of distress, and you ingest this dark liquid while knowing this. Tom took another gulp of his coffee. Sure do. Want to know what's really wild? Some of us eat bacteria on purpose. Yogurt, cheese, pickles. Lots of our food is basically controlled rot. The alien suits all pulsed with such bright colors that it lit up the room. Yellow's scanner clattered to the floor. Fascinating and horrifying. Green spoke up from where he was studying Tom's cat, Max, who was sleeping on a windowsill. You also share your dwellings with predatory creatures. Oh, Max? He's harmless, Tom said, then thought about it. Well, unless you're a mouse, or a bird, or anything small that moves, really. But he's sweet to people. The aliens watched in terror as Max stretched, showing his claws, then went back to sleep. Their suits' defensive fields hummed louder. Our preliminary research shows your planet has millions of species, Blue said, trying to sound scientific despite his clear unease. Many of them are what we would classify as extreme danger organisms, yet you seem unconcerned. Kate walked to the window, making the aliens flinch as she passed near them. Outside, bees were buzzing around the spring flowers. See those flying insects? They're bees. They can inject you with venom, but they're crucial for our food production. We actually build houses for them. You farm venomous creatures. Red's translator couldn't quite convey the mix of disbelief and respect in his voice. Voluntarily. Sure, honey is delicious, Tom said. Though some folks are allergic to bee stings. Their immune systems overreact a bit. Your bodies fight the venom so hard they cause self-damage. Yellow had retrieved the scanner and was recording everything. And you still keep these creatures. A loud sneeze from Kate made all the aliens jump. Their suits' emergency fields activated, creating bubble-like barriers around each of them. Sorry, Kate sniffled. Like I said, pollen season. My immune system doesn't like tree sperm much either. Your atmosphere is filled with reproductive material that causes your bodies to violently expel air, and you treat this as normal. Blue's translator crackled with incredulity. Could be worse, Tom shrugged. Could be ragweed season, or flu season. Now that's when your immune system really goes nuts. Yellow's scanner started beeping again. You classify your diseases by seasons. They are so common they have predictable cycles. Oh yeah, Kate nodded. Different viruses and bacteria show up at different times of the year. Our bodies fight them off, usually. Sometimes we get sick for a few days, but that's what soup and rest is for. Your solution to being invaded by microscopic organisms is to consume heated liquid containing plant and animal matter, then enter a state of unconsciousness. Blue asked. Pretty much, Tom smiled. Works most of the time. Our immune systems get stronger with each fight. The aliens were silent for a moment, their suits pulsing with slow waves of color as they processed this information. Finally, Blue spoke again. We came here believing we would find a primitive species struggling to survive on a death world. Instead, we find you have adapted to use lethal organisms for food, keep predators as companions, and treat atmospheric toxins as mere inconveniences. A loud buzz made them all look up. A large fly had gotten into the station, and was circling the ceiling light. "Don't worry," Tom said, reaching for a fliss water. "I'll take care of it." The aliens watched in stunned silence as he casually swatted the flying creature out of the air with a small plastic tool clearly designed for that purpose. To them, it was like watching someone casually swat a miniature death drone. "You truly are remarkable," Yellow said, scanner wearing. "Terrifying, but remarkable." The first crack of thunder made the alien research team huddle even closer together in the corner of the ranger station. Their protective suits glowed brightly enough to cast shadows on the wooden walls. "Is your planet under attack?" Red asked, his translator barely audible over the rumbling sky. Tom looked up from where he was closing windows. "Nah, just a spring thunderstorm. Pretty mild one, by the looks of it." Another lightning flash lit up the room, followed immediately by booming thunder. The alien suits pulsed with emergency patterns. "You call this mild?" Blue's voice crackled through his translator. "The atmosphere is generating enough electricity to power our homeworld for a day." "At least it's not hail," Kate said, watching the rain begin to fall. The alien scanner started beeping frantically as they detected the water droplets hitting the roof. "Your corrosive dihydrogen monoxide is falling from the sky with such force," Yellow exclaimed. "Will the structure hold?" Tom chuckled as he put on a pot of fresh coffee. "The cabin's weathered worse. You should see what winter brings. That's when we get frozen water falling from the sky." The aliens fell silent, their suits displaying swirling patterns of disbelief. "Your planet's temperature variations are so extreme that your precipitation freezes solid?" Green finally asked. "Sure," Kate nodded. "Kids love it. They make snowmen, have snowball fights, go sledding. Your young deliberately play in frozen atmospheric precipitation." Blue interrupted. "Without protective equipment?" "Well, they wear coats and gloves," Tom said. "Usually, a particularly bright flash of lightning made the power flicker." The alien suits immediately went into maximum defense mode, creating a glowing dome around their group. "Don't worry," Kate assured them. "The station has a lightning rod. The electricity will go safely into the ground. You have developed technology to channel atmospheric energy weapons into your planet's crust." Red's translator conveyed both fear and respect. "As a routine safety measure." Before anyone could answer, a new sound joined the storm. A deep, rumbling growl from outside. Tom walked to the window and shined his flashlight into the rain. "Oh, looks like we've got company," he said casually. "Big male black bear. Storm probably disturbed his evening plans." The alien sensors all began screaming at once. Their screens displayed warning symbols as they detected the large predator. "A massive carnivorous life form is meters away from this structure," Blue stated, his translator somehow managing to convey panic. "Yet you continue to make hot beverages." "Bears usually keep to themselves," Tom said, reaching for his bear spray, "just in case. Though this one seems curious about your ship." The bear was indeed investigating the alien vessel, sniffing around its landing gear. The aliens watched in horror through the window as the massive creature put its paws on their advanced spacecraft. "That creature masses more than our entire research team combined." Yellow's scanner was working overtime. "Its claws could breach our hull." "Don't worry," Tom said, opening the door slightly. The sound of the storm grew louder, making the aliens press themselves further into their corner. He pointed his flashlight at the bear and called out, "Hey, get going, buddy." The bear looked up, seemed to consider its options, then dropped back to all fours and ambled away into the rain. You commanded the apex predator to leave, and it obeyed?" Red asked in disbelief. "They're pretty reasonable most of the time." Tom shrugged, closing the door. "Though we'll want to check your ship for scratches once the storm passes." A flash of lightning illuminated the bear's retreating form, followed by another rumble of thunder. The aliens watched through their sensors as the massive predator disappeared into the forest, apparently unbothered by the storm. "Your world has atmospheric energy discharges that could power cities. Blue said slowly, precipitation that could dissolve ships, and massive predators that roamed freely. And you live here without protective equipment. Well, I've got a raincoat in my truck, Kate offered, though I forgot it today. The alien suits displayed such complex patterns of color that they almost looked like a light show, perfectly complementing the lightning outside. Their scientific worldview was being challenged with every passing moment on this impossible world called Earth. The storm had passed, leaving behind the fresh scent of wet earth and pine needles. Through the ranger station's windows, the aliens watched in amazement as Earth's yellow star, the sun, broke through the clouds, making water droplets glisten on every surface. "Look at your young," Yellow exclaimed, pointing a sensor at 3 children who had appeared on the trail, splashing through puddles. "They're deliberately making contact with the fallen dihydrogen monoxide." "Kids love puddles," Kate smiled. "Can't keep them out of them, really. Though their parents won't be happy about the muddy shoes." The aliens huddled together by the window, their suits' sensors working overtime to process the scene. A boy picked up a stick and started sword fighting with a tree, while his friends climbed onto a fallen log. "They're attacking local flora and climbing on deceased plant matter," Blue observed. "Is this some kind of combat training?" Tom laughed, refilling his coffee cup. "Nah, they're just playing. Having fun, you know. Being kids. Fun." Red's translator crackled with confusion. "In these conditions." Speaking of fun, Kate pulled out her phone and showed them some pictures. "Here's what humans do for entertainment on this DeathWorld of yours." The aliens crowded around the small screen, their suits pulsing with increasingly agitated colors as Kate swiped through photos of rock climbing, skydiving, whitewater rafting, and mountain biking. "Your species deliberately seeks out additional dangers." Green's voice was filled with disbelief. "You climb gravity-defying rock formations for entertainment." "Some folks do," Tom nodded. "Me, I prefer fishing. Though I did try bungee jumping once. That's where you tie an elastic cord to your feet and jump off a high place." The alien suits almost short-circuited at this description. They began talking among themselves in their own language, their translators off, gesturing at the humans with what seemed like a mixture of horror and respect. "We must understand," Blue finally said, turning back to them. "Your species evolved on this world of extreme gravity, lethal weather, and abundant predators. Yet instead of developing protective technology, you adapted your bodies." "Pretty much," Kate shrugged. "We're good at adapting. Take temperature. Humans can survive in the Arctic or the Sahara Desert. We build shelters, make clothes, but our bodies do most of the work. The temperature range between those regions is greater than that of our entire solar system." Yellow's scanner whirred. "How do you maintain molecular cohesion?" "We sweat," Tom said simply. "Or shiver. Depends on what's needed." The aliens were silent for a moment, processing this. Outside, more children had joined the first group. They were now having what appeared to be a mud ball fight, ducking behind trees and shrieking with laughter. "In our world," Blue said slowly, "children are kept in protected environments until maturity. They are gradually exposed to controlled conditions to build tolerance. Your young seem to embrace environmental challenges." "Can't really avoid them here," Kate smiled. "Earth throws something new at you every day. You either adapt or you don't make it." Tom walked to the door and opened it, making the aliens back away from the rush of fresh air. "Want to try stepping outside?" Storms passed, air pressures normal, and the bears long gone. The research team looked at each other, their suits' colors shifting through various patterns. Finally, Blue stepped forward. "We came here to study your world," he said. "We should attempt to understand it, even if it defies all our scientific principles." One by one, the aliens followed Tom onto the station's porch. They stood there, their suits' sensors taking in the afternoon sun, the wet earth, the playing children, the buzzing insects, and the distant sound of thunder from the departing storm. "Your world is beautiful," Yellow said suddenly. "Terrifying, but beautiful. Like a quantum flame. Deadly but fascinating." "That's Earth for you," Kate smiled. "Try to kill you 1 minute, take your breath away the next. Sometimes both at once." A rainbow appeared over the forest, its colors reflecting off the alien suits. They watched in silence as more humans emerged from the nearby trails, completely at ease in their lethal paradise, masters of a world that by all scientific logic should have been impossible to inhabit. Inside the alien ship, Blue sat at his command console, trying to compose his official report to the Observer Scientific Council. The screen in front of him flickered as he deleted his third attempt at an introduction. How could he explain what they had witnessed in terms his superiors would understand? Perhaps start with the basic planetary conditions, Red suggested, adjusting his suit's gravity compensators yet again. Even inside their ship, Earth's pull was exhausting. Blue nodded and began typing. Planet Earth defies classification by all known scientific standards. Surface gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared, 1.47 times Council standard. Atmospheric pressure, nearly double acceptable levels. Temperature variations, beyond survival ranges. Yet the dominant species calls these conditions nice weather. Yellow added data from his biological surveys to the report. Local life forms demonstrate impossible adaptations. Example: Earth insects defy gravity by powered flight in crushing atmospheric conditions. Earth birds routinely navigate storms that would destroy our atmospheric vessels. Earth mammals actively hunt in gravity that should prevent rapid movement. Don't forget this, Green said, transferring his observations. Native species humans have domesticated predators. They keep miniature carnivores in their dwellings and treat them as companion creatures. These cats and dogs are capable of killing most known sentient species, yet humans casually sleep in their presence. Blue continued typing. Humans demonstrate either extreme bravery or complete lack of survival instinct. They willingly consume substances that would be considered biological weapons on most worlds. Examples: coffee, a neurological stimulant derived from processed plant beans. Spices, chemical compounds so potent they cause pain responses in oral receptors. Alcohol, a poison they drink for recreation. Include the information about their young, Red insisted. The Council needs to understand this. Human children regularly engage in high-risk physical activities. Blue added to the report. They intentionally climb tall objects, jump into bodies of water, and play in precipitation. Parents encourage this behavior, claiming it builds character and resilience. Our previous assumptions about protective child rearing appear to be completely wrong. Yellow transferred more data. Humans have adapted to cooperate with potentially lethal organisms. They cultivate colonies of bacteria for food production. They maintain populations of venomous insects for crop pollination. They appear to have achieved symbiosis with countless microscopic life forms that live within their bodies. Don't forget their weather, Green added. The atmospheric energy discharges they call lightning contain enough power to vaporize most known materials. Humans have developed simple metal rods to redirect this energy into their planet's crust. They consider this mundane safety equipment. Blue paused, considering how to phrase the next part. Most concerning is the humans' relationship with their environment. They do not seek to create controlled conditions as civilized species do. Instead, they have adapted their bodies and minds to thrive in extreme conditions. They expose themselves to solar radiation for aesthetic purposes. Tanning. They intentionally climb mountains in low oxygen conditions. Hiking. They dive into high-pressure ocean environments for recreation. Swimming. Should we mention the bear incident? Red asked nervously. We must, Blue replied, typing again. During our observation, a large predatory mammal approached our landing site. The human designated as Park Ranger drove it away, using only artificial light and vocal commands. When asked about this, He described the encounter as routine and no big deal. Yellow added his analysis. Humans appear to have achieved apex predator status not through superior physical attributes, but through sheer adaptability and what they call persistence. They can survive in virtually any environment on their world, from frozen polar regions to oxygen-depleted high altitudes to scorching deserts. Blue sat back, looking at the screen. How do we classify them? They don't fit any of our existing categories. Perhaps that's the point, Green suggested. They don't merely survive on a death world. They master it. Blue added a final note to the report. Recommendation: classify humans as a resilient Class X species. Their ability to adapt to extreme conditions, rather than engineer-controlled environments, represents an evolutionary path we never considered possible. While they appear peaceful, their casual relationship with conditions we consider lethal makes them potentially the most dangerous species we have encountered. Not through malice, but through their incredible ability to thrive in what should be impossible conditions. He looked at the final line he had typed. Exercise extreme caution in future contact. These humans are not trapped on a death world. They are its masters, and they don't even realize how extraordinary that is. The morning sun cast long shadows across the clearing as the alien research team made their final preparations to leave Earth. Their ship had survived its encounter with the curious bear, though claw marks on the landing gear would forever remind them of their visit to this impossible world. "You sure you can't stay longer?" Tom asked, watching them struggle with their equipment in Earth's gravity. "The weekend crowd would love to meet you." More humans. Blue's translator crackled with what might have been nervous laughter. "I believe our research team has experienced enough excitement." Kate walked up with 2 paper bags in her hands. "I packed you some souvenirs. Coffee beans, honey, and a few hot sauce packets. You know, some of Earth's deadliest delicacies." The aliens accepted the bags with their force fields, carefully storing them in heavily shielded containers. Yellow's scanner beeped frantically at the contents. "The Council will never believe these are common food items," Red said, watching his sensors detect the capsaicin levels in the hot sauce. "They'll classify them as biological weapons." "Oh, speaking of classifications," Blue turned to the humans. "We're leaving a standard warning beacon in orbit. Protocol requires us to mark discovered death worlds." Tom grinned. "Let me guess. Danger, extreme gravity, and warning, atmospheric hazards." Actually, Green's translator conveyed something close to embarrassment. "We had to create an entirely new classification. Your world isn't just a death world. It's something else entirely." The ship's external speakers crackled as Blue activated the beacon's message for them to hear. A calm, mechanical voice began to speak. "Dear fellow spacefaring species, we regret to inform you that this world, designated Earth by its native inhabitants, requires special classification. While it meets all criteria for a Class X death world, its dominant species, humans, have not only survived but thrived in conditions that defy conventional biological limits. Warning: the following conditions are considered normal by local standards. Crushing gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared. Extreme temperature variations, minus 50 degrees Celsius to plus 50 degrees Celsius. Regular atmospheric energy discharges, abundant predatory life forms. Microscopic organisms in all environments. Corrosive precipitation. Constant radiation exposure from local star. Additional warning: the native species humans demonstrate the following concerning behaviors. Voluntary exposure to solar radiation for cosmetic purposes. Recreational climbing of gravity-defying heights. Deliberate consumption of biological toxins, classified as spices. Cohabitation with predatory animals. Intentional cultivation of venomous insects. Willing ingestion of live microorganisms. Entertainment activities involving dangerous conditions. This is not a hostile world. This is something far more remarkable. A world where the impossible has become ordinary. Humans do not survive here despite the conditions. They have become one with them. Proceed with caution. Your environmental protection systems may be considered redundant by local standards. Your survival protocols may be viewed as unnecessary caution. Your defensive measures may be met with amusement. You are not entering a death zone. You are entering humanity's cradle, where they learn to turn what we consider lethal into what they consider pleasant. Final note: if you meet a human, and they tell you the weather is nice today, prepare yourself for conditions that violate the laws of survival as you know them. The message ended, leaving a moment of silence broken only by birdsong and the distant sound of children playing in the morning air. "That's actually kind of poetic," Kate said, smiling. "Though you might want to add a note about our coffee addiction." Blue's suit displayed swirling patterns of what might have been amusement. "We included that under deliberate consumption of biological toxins, though we still can't believe you drink it for pleasure." As the aliens made their final checks, Tom opened a thermos. One last cup for the road. The research team looked at the steaming liquid, their suits' sensors detecting the caffeine levels. After a moment's hesitation, Blue carefully extended a sampling probe. "In the spirit of scientific research," he said, "and because if humans can drink this daily and survive, it cannot be as lethal as our data suggests." The other aliens watched in amazement as their leader analyzed Earth's famous morning beverage. Blue's suit displayed a rainbow of colors as the results came in. "Remarkable," he said finally. "Like this whole world, it should be deadly, yet somehow it's perfectly balanced. We came to study a death world, but we found something much more interesting. A world that shows us that our definition of impossible may need revision." Tom and Kate waved goodbye as the ship lifted off, fighting Earth's gravity one last time. The warning beacon blinked in orbit, ready to inform future visitors that they were about to discover what happens when a species doesn't just survive against all odds. They make those odds look like a walk in the park. Literally.